Happy Wednesday, August 14th, my friends. You know the drill. It's your first time watching. Coffee up, tea up, liquor up, bourbon up. It's all up to you. Get something in your cup. Sit down. Join us for half hour, 45 minutes. We're going to talk about life. Today I'm going to go old school, do some old school cool discussion. And I need your feedback and how you're feeling and what good news is going on in your life. I'll see you in 4 minutes. About that time, my friends. Let's get this party started. It's going to be an exciting Wednesday, August 14th here on the Stop Doing Nothing show. Hopefully your cup is full. If it's not, I will fill it with something. I will fill it with some good news. I will fill it with something going on in your life. Please make sure you say hello in the comments, who you are, where you're watching from. Is this your first time? Do you think I'm a waste of time? Do you think I'm a professional bullshitter? Hey, I will take all the good news, okay? It's Wednesday, August 14th, 9 a.m. where I am, Central Time. I don't know what time it is where you are. Hopefully it's a little bit earlier and you're still on your butt on your couch having your morning coffee and you're just scrolling a little bit on Facebook and you're looking for good news. You're looking for something uplifting and you stopped here. And this is the place to be because I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you in the comments. Like I said, if you've had a good week, make sure you share what's happened to make it a good week, okay? That's what's really important is a lot of times we want to share good news with people and, it doesn't travel very far. But everything counts. Little wins, big wins, everything wins. Make sure you share with us. And like I said, from your location also. And do us a favor, if you would, please. Just share this show. If you're on YouTube, share it with some friends. If you're on LinkedIn, share it with some friends. If you're on Facebook, share it with some friends. I'm not going to lie. We are trying to get our numbers up, and I could use some free social currency. If it is your first time watching, my name is Patrick Almond. I own an agency called Stop Doing Nothing Media, and we are live 3 times a week where we talk about life and the good and the bad. And yeah, we slip in some stuff about, media buying and technology and CRMs and marketing. At our core, we are a marketing agency. So we'll talk about that a little bit also. But in general, it's just a good news time and a time for us to learn from each other and for me to share any kind of news that's happened in the world of, marketing or just all kinds of good news. It's really kind of more of a good news thing. And so thank you for watching. Especially big shout out to any of my parent friends who don't have kids right now. And by don't have kids, I mean they're off at school because it is, for most, I think, cities around, at least here in Oklahoma, a lot of cities around here, it is school week. Some schools started yesterday. I know the school district around me started today because I was off on the morning walk and the buses are out and the kids are out and they're all buried on their phones, just like we were back in the 80s, right? They're all buried on their phones at the bus stop. So, yeah, it's going back to school week. Let's be careful out there. But kudos to my parent friends who get a little bit of relief, get their kids back into a good routine, get their kids learning again. It's a little bit less stress on you. So congratulations. It is back to school week here. As I was getting ready, as I was coming back and taking some show notes, I always look for something to kind of lift us up or give us kind of a stark reality check. If you know anything about me, you know that I very rarely like to pull any punches. I'm very blunt. I tend to be very much in your face. Is it a good thing? I'll never know, but it seems to work for people because, we just get snowballed and bullshitted way too much in this world, and I'm just tired of it. I have a limited amount of years, and I'm not dying of cancer or anything, but I have a limited amount of time on this planet, and I just like to calls it like I sees it. And, if it's not your cup of tea, I completely understand that, but that's the way I think we should be living. We should be able to call each other out on our bullshit. You call me out on my bullshit, I'll call you out on your bullshit. Oftentimes, we don't need to sugarcoat it. We really don't. We just need to be very real with each other. So this is something I read this morning from a friend of Alex Hormozi. He's really big in the marketing world right now. Gurus come and go, and right now is Alex's time. Okay, so this was shared. Alex put this out. Looks like maybe a tweet. I can't tell. Maybe a tweet, and then my friend JP Maroney shared it, and then my other friend Russ Ward shared it. So this is kind of the etymology of how things get around on the internet. Is someone puts it out, and then someone shares it, and you heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend who. So my old school friends will know that song right now. But things just kind of bounce around to people. And so here it was. And again, this is not an original quote by me or by Russ or by JP. This is an Alex original one. Okay. Alex says, I read a family friend's obituary today. He died at age 87. His obituary covered when he was born and where, the job he had for 20 years, his retirement home activities, a list of family members. So all in all, he got 87. He lived 87 years, and his life was summarized in 2 paragraphs, okay? That's how all of us are going to end up. That really is. And the last line here, it says, that thing you're stressed about doesn't matter. And that's the whole point of all of this, is we're all going to end up in the same place. So, really try to, this week, I'm going to reemphasize focusing on the really big things and not so much the small minor things, because at the end, they don't matter. And I'll read this again. I read a family friend's obituary today. He died at age 87. His obituary covered when he was born and where, the job he had for 20 years, his retirement home activities, a list of family members. So, 87 years of his life was summed up in 2 paragraphs. That thing you're stressed about doesn't matter. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, JP. And then thank you, Russ, for sharing that. As a matter of fact, I got to reshare that probably after the live stream. After I get my live stream reach out of the way, I may share that later in the day also. And again, there are stressful things in life too that are worth stressing over. Not that many. On the day of my funeral, this is what's going to happen. People are going to put on probably some, black clothes. They're going to pull up some memories of me. They're going to look at the time of my funeral, probably be, early because I'm an early guy, although I'm guess not going to really be in charge of my funeral. But let's say my funeral's at 11 o'clock. People are going to look at their schedule and go like, oh, do I have time to fit in Patrick Allman's funeral? I've got a meeting, I've got a Zoom, I've got to get my nails done, I've got to go grocery shopping. And so the people that have the time and that want to be there will be there. And some people won't be there because it's a schedule conflict. And the people that are there, they may be looking at their watch thinking, oh, I've got something to do after this. I hope it hurries up. So as great as it is being alive and as good as we have it, and as much as we love our friends and our friends love us, at some point in time, it has to end. And it's going to disappear off, you're going to disappear out of someone's mind in a couple of generations. So all that to say, live big now. And please, please don't stress out about the small stuff. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Someone's not going to come to your obituary and say, oh my goodness, Patrick went to the gym 237 times, or Patrick skipped a gym day. These are things to me right now, but in the grand scheme of things, they really don't matter when it comes to living a really, really good life. Do the big important things, do fewer of them, and focus on the really, really good stuff out there. Okay? That's it. I beat that horse. Like I said, always share in the comments who's watching and where you are from. What else is on the agenda here? I've had a good week so far. As you know, I went to my buddy's ranch. We talked about on the Monday show. And if you haven't done so, make sure you go back and watch the Monday show and also subscribe on YouTube. And since then, it's just been a week of heads down, marketing agency work. I've got great clients and I love building things for them. And so we're doing that here at Stop Doing Nothing Media, building automations. As you know, we have a platform called the Playmakers platform, which is our version of the high-level CRM. And that is such a great tool that kicks ass. And I cannot emphasize enough, if you're a coach, thought leader, author, speaker, somebody who wants to sell their knowledge, please, please reach out to me. Text our office, 405-217-4752. DM me on Facebook, email me. I'm pretty visible on social media. And if you're using a lot of tech tools to do your marketing also, we should talk, because I can consolidate all those down into probably 1 or 2 tools. More than likely just 1, but maybe 1 or 2 max. And we just love, not only do I love technology and not only do I love marketing, I love making it easier. I love finding tools and platforms and tech stacks to make it easier. So that's what we do here at Stop Doing Nothing Media. Plus, we help you get mad crazy reach and help you sell more stuff. Okay? There we go. Like I said earlier, it is back to school time here in the area, so please be aware of that. If you've got kids going back to school, share a comment about that below. Like I said, as I was doing my morning 3 mile walk, I saw the kids already out on the bus stop, and I was reminiscing a little bit because my daughter is well beyond school age. She wasn't much of a bus rider. We like to drop her off and pick her up, or when she was able to drive herself. We was just never very much of a bus rider. And I kind of was reminiscing a little bit when I grew up and I did my grade school things. I would always walk to school or I was a bus rider. And the last schooling I had was, back in North Hollywood in the 80s. And I remember that you had to, there was no school buses in that area. It was all public transportation. And the public buses, I remember this, I had this one memory in my head of buses getting packed. Like the bus made several stops. Like my apartment was probably, I don't know, 5-10 stops away from the school, okay? And we would and by the time it got to me, if I didn't get out there early enough, like half an hour before school, that bus would pull up and it would be packed. It would be just crammed with people. You've seen images of some of the subway systems, like in India and stuff, where they're basically like shoving people in. That's kind of what it was like getting to school. And so one of the things I would try to always do when I was going to school, it was I would try to get out to that bus stop a little bit earlier to get the previous bus, or I wouldn't go to my normal bus stop. I'd walk that direction, but I'd go back like a stop or two because obviously every stop or two earlier, there's fewer and fewer people on the bus. So I was reminiscing a little bit about that this morning. But then I was also reminiscing about my daughter who's living her best life right now. And you music fans are going to like this. So my daughter works for an event, specifically a music event marketing agency. So marketing runs in the family. My wife markets in politics. I market for small businesses, and my daughter helps market and put on large festivals and events and experiences. As a matter of fact, she was one of the people in charge of the Prince experience that was here. Not here. Yeah, they wouldn't have a Prince experience in Oklahoma City. When she was in Chicago, she had she worked with the Prince's estate, specifically Prince's sister, and they put on like a multi-month Prince experience in downtown Chicago. It was really cool. It wasn't too far from the Bean, that big shiny Bean in Chicago that everyone, including me, loves taking selfies in front of. It wasn't too far from the Bean down there. We were able to walk, I think, from the two. But so my daughter is always doing really cool things, and recently she returned home from San Francisco, where she lives up in Brooklyn. And what was she doing in San Francisco? She was helping manage an event, and she was doing photography, which is her passion now, and she's really, really good at it. And who'd she get to photograph at this event in San Francisco? None other than the Grace Jones. Are you kidding me? My daughter is out there photographing Grace Jones, and this is not the first time. My daughter has selfies with Maya Rudolph, who we're going to see a ton of this coming the next, hopefully 4 years, maybe 8 years if we're lucky. But all that, she's just doing really good stuff there. And then after she got back from San Francisco to Brooklyn, immediately, I think we're talking within hours, she was going to a Missy Elliott concert. So my daughter's out there photographing Grace Jones in San Francisco, and then she's coming home to Brooklyn, going to see, I think it was Missy Elliott, Sierra, Busta Rhymes, and oh goodness, there was one other person that was on stage. I can't remember who it was. Either way, she goes from photographing, music stars like Grace Jones, flies back home to go to a concert, and it's just, oh my goodness, I have to admit I'm a little bit jealous, but I'm also very, very proud, as any parent would, of their kids doing really, really great things. So if you are a parent, please, please accept my thanks and my kudos, especially if you're raising really good kids. And that's really important now as we get back into the school year. You may or may not know, but I've spent several years, probably at least a decade, if not no longer than a decade, volunteering at a local elementary school. And I have seen the gamut of it, okay? I'm not a teacher, so I haven't seen the stuff teachers have seen, but I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of parenting and of kid behavior, specifically, K through 5 behavior. Things from, fifth graders wanting to beat their chest and be gang members to kids with emotional issues and trauma, to parents wanting to fight. Parents wanting to fight a volunteer. I kid you not. This happened once. There was a parent who wouldn't leave the school and was threatening to fight me, wanted to go out front of the school and fight. His kids were in tow. This was just around post-COVID. And his kids were with him, and we kept asking him to leave the school, and he wouldn't. And and after the staff had dealt with him, I basically got involved, and I said, listen, I volunteer here. I have no official capacity, but I can tell you if you don't leave, the next step is police. And you don't want that, especially with your kids here. And it's like, let's go out front and fight. And I'm like, goodness gracious, I haven't had anyone that has wanted to physically fist fight me it really has been decades. I've been lucky enough to be around people that just don't think that's the resolution to things. And so it was kind of took me away. It's like, I think I might have even laughed at him. It's like, really? What are we in, like, junior high school? We're going to go outside and fist fight and your kids are going to cheer us on? I had no response. I thought it was so ridiculous. Didn't feel threatened in the least, but I'm like, oh, goodness gracious. So kudos to the teachers and the administrators of these schools that are having to put up with some really, really serious bullshit. Health update. Um, I was very tempted to make coffee this morning. As you know, I'm on a week-long coffee break. And what was I going to say? Oh, a week-long coffee break. And so I was almost tempted to reward myself this morning with having coffee. And I do that. Like if I go a month without having a burger, oftentimes my mindset is, oh, I should have a burger to celebrate. Very, very, very bad mindset. Okay. But so I am still on water, my third or fourth day on water. And if I have nothing against coffee, I'm just trying to experiment with my body to see if I can lose some weight and stay healthy. So if you have coffee, it better have cream and sugar in it. That's all I have to say. So what I was chatting, my notes today were is about basically for those of you. I'm going to say this is going to be kind of some how life used to be pre-internet. Okay, not necessarily marketing pre-internet, but how great life was pre-internet. And for some of you that are younger than me, you've never experienced some of the things I'm going to talk about. But those of you who have a plenty of life experience, shall I say, like I do, are going to um, kind of connect with these things. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so when I was first started getting online, and by online I mean like even dial up. I was in the military. I was in the military late '80s, early '90s, and that was very much pre. It wasn't. I'm not gonna say it was pre-internet because pre-internet was around before you had it in your house and before you had it on your phone. It was, government. It was, excuse me, educational institutions, colleges, universities, things like that. Those are the first ones that really did have internet and made the interconnection. And then there were probably some government connections and then probably some commercial connections. And at some point in time, someone said, hey, let's run a cable line to someone's house. No, before that, it was let's give people access to the internet via dial up. Okay. And then after that, we started having a consistent connection like we have today. So those of you who just always open up your phone or always open up your computer and the internet is always there, it wasn't always like that. I used to have to get on the internet, I used to have to go into a software program. It would use one of my phone lines because I would have to have 2 or 3 phone lines at home. It would use one of my phone lines and it would dial out, make that horrible screeching noise, connect. I would have to put some commands on here, and then eventually I would be connected to the internet. And it was painfully slow. As in when a web page would load, you would actually see the characters. Like you see in old school movies like teletypes, you would actually see the characters being drawn on the screen. That's how slow it was. And fortunately, we got things like Cox cable and things like that, and the internet got faster. And so now we just take it for granted. If we don't have the internet for a couple of seconds, we know it. Like if I'm browsing or checking email or texting someone via iMessage, I don't have the internet for 5 seconds. I know it. That's how connected we are. But it wasn't always that way. So here are some things that back in the old school days when it came to technology that I had to experience, and people of my age had to experience. It used to be that so you didn't used to dial into the internet so much as you would dial into a bulletin board. Okay, so I remember in Omaha, Nebraska, I would dial into a local bulletin board, and there were other military people on the bulletin board and other non-military people. And the bulletin board was subdivided into different sections about technology and things like that. And the community was so small, which doesn't happen these days. The community was so small that we would actually meet up in person and do social things. So a bulletin board might have 50 or 100 people on it, and we'd say, hey, let's go down to the local bowling alley in 2 weeks and meet up and have drinks and hang out. And we would actually do that. That's how small the communities were, is we could actually meet up in person and know everybody. And it made obviously the connection very personal. Now these days, if you have, 5,000 Facebook connections, there's no way in hell that is happening. Okay. You may run into some of your Facebook friends at an event and, you may meet 10 or 20 of them in real life. Maybe even more if you're at a conference or if you're putting on a conference, obviously a lot more. But, they're not all friends, they're connections. So the internet has very much shrunk the world and made it so we can be connected to a lot more people, but we're very rarely going to see these people in person, okay? But that's the way it used to be. So I used to know everybody that I was chatting with online in real life, okay? Bulletin boards were the really cool thing. And this is why I'm such a Reddit fan right now, is when social media started getting really big, it became very person-centric, meaning it was all centered around the individual and their likes and dislikes and them getting attention for themselves or for their business, okay? And that's what basically blossomed into an influencer. But it wasn't always like that. It used to be that you would connect to people based on a common thing that you liked. So if you were a Star Wars person or a Star Trek person, you could dial into a Star Wars BBS and you could nerd out with the Star Wars people, or same with the Star Trek people, not on the same bulletin board. That would be taboo, of course. Or if you were into cars, you would do that. And then along came platforms like Facebook, which are very me centric and you centric, and which is why one of the reasons, and I would encourage you to do this, why one of the reasons I'm such a big fan of Reddit. I love Reddit because it's subdivided into things I'm interested in. It's not all me centric. It's centric on topics. So aviation, being disciplined, over 30 fitness, maybe if you're into politics and there's a very particular political niche you want to pay attention to, you can find that on Reddit. I haven't checked. Let me see, how many subreddits are there on Reddit? How many subreddits exist? Let me see. Whoa, I had no idea. So in 2021, there were 2.8 million subreddits. So it says from general topics like tech and environment to very specific niches, there's a subreddit for every topic under the sun. So if you're into cars, there's a subreddit. But forget cars. Let's say you're into Pinto cars, okay? But forget that. Let's say you're into 1971 Pinto 4-cylinder cars, Model D, okay? There's going to be a subreddit for that. So if you're ever interested in learning more about a topic, go check out Reddit. I'm actually reading here some of the other statistics about Reddit. Let me see. So 100,000 active communities, even with the millions of subreddits. Let me see. Most of these stats are actually useless. I hate it when I go to a list of, look at these stats. Oh, here's a good one. There are 50 million daily active Reddit users worldwide. Nowhere near as Facebook. Hey, no big deal. And Reddit's only the 10th most popular social media network in the US. Oh, that's depressing. And 30% are under 30. And like I said, the 2.8 million subreddits there. So yeah, if you're ever interested in something that's very niche oriented, head over to Reddit, because that's my platform of choice. Yes, I do spend time on Facebook for marketing purposes and for being social, but Reddit, I really love my Reddit fam, because again, I can focus on topics and niches I'm interested in. We used to meet up in person, so I talked about that, but this was kind of cool. Back when Twitter was first starting off, so I told you when bulletin boards came out, we would meet up in person. Well, same thing with Twitter. When Twitter first came out, I think I was a fairly early Twitter adopter, and by early, maybe one of the first 100,000 users. I really don't know, but I was on there, and a lot of Oklahoma City people were on there, geeky people and non-geeky people. And we used to have tweet ups. Has anyone ever been to a tweet up? Do you remember these? And a tweet up was just basically a meetup. And we would pick a local restaurant that we wanted to promote. Oftentimes it was a local Italian restaurant here called Rococo. Google bought Reddit and is promoting it, right? Did they, Brian? Man, can you share a link for that? I did not know that. I actually did not know that. I hope that is the case, because Google has tried and failed multiple times on social networks, okay? And every time a new social network gets out, I have to admit, I get on it to learn it. A couple of reasons. One, because I want to know the benefits and features of every social media network. And I also, I actually get called on, sorry, my nose is itching. This is a funny thing when I'm on camera and I talk a lot. My nose just itches like crazy. Um, I actually get called on the news a lot. The local news stations here. I'm not kidding. Where are they? 425, 9, Telemundo, 5, 4, 5, 9, Fox 25, Telemundo. So I get called by the local news stations here oftentimes if there's either a new social media network and they want to do a story on it, or if something bad happens on a social media network. So I sign up for social media networks like crazy, including Truth Social. Okay. Yes, I have a Truth Social account. I haven't been on it in a little bit because most of that stuff is reposted outside of Truth Social. But I got on it just to see what is on it and to learn about it. Okay, it's not. It doesn't hurt. And I have to admit, right now with the political thing going on, Truth Social is hilarious. Again, not because I've been on it, but because I've seen things shared from it. And kudos to the Democratic Party for getting on Truth Social. That was a very bold step, but that's just a very creative way of marketing themselves. So yeah, we used to have tweet ups. That was what was cool about old school internet. When Twitter first came out, we would actually meet up in person. Now some of these tweet ups would be awkward because we can be really social and geek at each other online, but sometimes when the socialization online does not translate well into meeting up in person. We just don't know what to do with each other. I'd say that right. Yeah. A lot of times people that are on social media networks are introverts, or they are antisocial. And so when you get them out into a public environment, they have no idea what to do. And so that I remember that some of that awkwardness going on. We don't have tweet ups anymore because Twitter is, number one, no longer Twitter, but also we have so many other social media networks going on. And let's see what else was cool back in the day. Uh, I remember when I was first going meeting up with people in person, we would actually haul our technology to the meetings. So back in the days of bulletin boards, when I was in the when I was yeah when I was in the military, I remember that we would actually haul our computer setups to these meetups because we would game in person and we would swap software in person. We would swap software illegally. Yes, I've done my share of hacking and swap software illegally. I don't do that anymore. But yeah, we would actually haul our computers in person. So if I'd have and everything was much bigger than back then. You couldn't just like take a MacBook and put it in your pocket and go there. You had the monitor and the CPU and the keyboard and all the cables and the power supply and the disk drive. I mean, all these things, kids, you don't know how good you have it now. All these things used to be separate components. And so my computer was a big giant overheating thing in the middle, and there would be a cable of that attached to the hard drive, and then another cable attached to the keyboard, and another cable attached to the monitor, and there would be a mess of cables underneath, assuming it wasn't a computer that was attached to the TV. And it took a while to take that apart, and hopefully you got it someplace and you didn't drop anything, and then you have to tear it apart again and get it home. So we used to do that a lot, and we also used to like swap software. So I would make copies and copies of software, and we would swap them with people. Back when we had 3.5-inch floppies and 5.25-inch floppies and 8-inch floppies. Oh my goodness, all these nightmares are coming back to me of how technology used to be. And the last thing that I was thinking was cool about old school cool. And Brian, make sure you share that article about how Google bought Reddit. I'm actually gonna look that up to see when that happened, because that would be cool. Google bought Reddit. Let me see. Here we go. No, so Google looks like here 6 months ago, Google struck a $60 million deal. Reddit has struck a $60 million deal with Google to use its content for training AI models. Cool. That's very cool. Yeah, yeah, Brian, you found it. You found it just about the time I did, dude. Um, yeah, so I'm finding that on Reddit, but I don't think. Oh, that's okay. That's in the Gemini/Bard subreddit on there, because you know what? I found the story on Reddit, and that's another cool thing about Reddit is a the things about two of the things I like about Reddit, and I will really get off my kick here, is number one. Mm, Number one, they're a very niche community. So, Brian, by the way, thank you for reminding me about that. That lets you share that. I remember that being in the back of my head someplace. Um, Number one is there's very niche down communities on there. But number two, you can actually downvote content on Reddit. So And this is actually last in my list of things to talk about when the internet was like old school cool. And right here it says in my notes, back when misinformation was easy to squat. So back in the day, in the days of bulletin boards and early internet days, if you would go on a social network and you would post something that was an outright lie, people would shut that down really fast, and it would get deleted. It was very easy for me to go into a post and say, "Oh, this is wrong, moderator. Please delete it." Okay. Those days are long gone because everybody has to have an opinion, which I have no problem with, but stating an opinion as fact and then misleading people with it, especially in the world of like politics, is a very, very bad thing. So back in the beginning of the internet, misinformation was much easier to spot. But excuse me, one of the coolest features of Reddit is the fact that you can actually downvote information. And I wish every social media network would have this feature. Facebook used to just be the like, and now we have a thumbs up, thumbs down, and various emojis. But you can't downvote something. You cannot downvote misinformation. And on Reddit, you can do that. If something is wrong and everybody downvotes it, it kind of disappears from the stream. Not just unpopular opinions, but just outright lies. So basically, the content is almost democratic as to where the good information floats to the top. Of course, this is subreddit specific, and the bad information and the lies, the misinformation gets pushed down. That is such a powerful, powerful feature because it just makes sure the good stuff and the popular stuff floats to the top. Okay, and you can, and that's just, I guess there's so many reasons I like Reddit, but that's one of the big ones right there, is the fact that you can upvote and downvote comments and things like that. Okay, so Brian, thanks again. For those of you who did not know that, please go read up on that. So Reddit is a huge, huge repository of information, and not only information, for the most part, factual information. The people on Reddit I find out are much, much, and I don't want to poo-poo anybody else on any of their social networks, but tend to be um, much more fact-based. Okay, they share information, or they do research stuff. Goodness gracious, Patrick. Ugh. And so just one of the many, many reasons I really do like Reddit. And so go check it out. Okay. I have no connection to Reddit. I don't own stock in Reddit. I don't even think they have stock, but it's just a place where we get a lot of good information from. And like I said, it actually shows up in a lot of the search engines now when it comes to search results at the top. I think because the information tends to be so factual. So if I'm ever looking at something for more balanced information, I'll go to Reddit or anything like that. That is my social network of choice. I don't have my bracelets here, but those of you that have watched the show before, don't forget I have bracelets for sale. They say, do I really not have any of my bracelets on my desk here? That's kind of odd right there. That's really odd. But I have bracelets that say stop doing nothing on one side and done is better than perfect on the other side. Yes, Brian, thank you very much. Quora does downvote also. Yeah. Quora, I'm not much of a Quora fan because they gate everything. You get a pop up and you got to sign in to look at everything. But yeah, Quora does the same thing. So if you're somebody who's just tired of the misinformation, you might want to do stuff and check out social networks like Quora. Thank you, Brian, or something like Reddit. I'm not going to say you're going to get 100% of the facts every single time, but what you're going to see is the more of the good stuff floating to the top and more of the bad stuff, being pushed down, which is really the way it should be. There are some times where facts are facts, and there's no alternative facts. I don't care who says that. There are opinions, and there are facts. Facts can be proven right and wrong. I'm very much a binary person. I think that's called a left brain. Is that right? Am I left brain or right brain? I can't remember which. But I'm very much a logical, fact-based person. And if something's not a fact, it's an opinion, or it's a rumor, or it's hearsay. That's just the way my brain lives. Whoever came up with the phrase alternative facts needs to be kicked in the nads, man. Just needs to be kicked in the nads. That was just a ridiculous thing. Alternative facts. No, 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 no. That is not a thing. Don't even get me going there. The show, like I said, if you haven't done so, help me out and share the show with your friends. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube, please do that. My YouTube following is growing every single week, and I would love your follow on there and your comments on there. Brian, I think you are watching on YouTube. Thank you very much. If and like I said in the beginning, we run a digital marketing agency here. It's Stop Doing Nothing Media. And if you ever want to talk about building your course or getting up a speaker website or anything having to do with selling your knowledge or syndicating your knowledge or making it so more eyeballs get on your businesses or your service offerings, please reach out here. Either DM me, comment here. You can go to one of our websites. You could text our office, 405 217 4752, and say, Patrick, let's set up a meeting. Let's chat about this or that when it comes to helping you build your courses and running ads on that kind of stuff. That's just the stuff that really jazzes me up every single day, and I would love to do it for you. The next show will be Friday, let's see, 14, 15, 16. So Friday, August 16th at 9 a.m. Central. Make sure you subscribe and share. And if you've got any good news between now and then, bring it. Comment. I'll put it in my show notes. I have a show notes file. I build in between shows of topics I want to make sure I cover. And if you and yeah, have a good day, my friend. Happy Wednesday, August 14th. I will see you Friday, August 16th. I hope that your family is well. I hope that your health is well. And I hope that, you know what? I hope that you just have a great day and people are nice to you, okay? As always, subscribe. Have a great day. I'm cheering for you, okay? And I will see you on Friday morning. You take care.